So I always knew I'd be a lifelong musician, but I really chose to be a professional musician after high school. I guess 18. I'm a second generation musician, so my dad was playing it for me since I was a baby, but I had a cousin that I looked up to who was like my brother's best friend, and he made me a Art Blakey, Lee Morgan mixtape when I was about 11 years old, and that's when I really kind of took it for myself. Wayne Shorter was my first kind of passion as far as first musical hero, and then John Coltrane was like, you know, a really big one. I can't imagine how we got into being lost. yeah, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and you know, hearing, you know, it's like I've heard pretty much every Coltrane record, and so it's like, wow, you don't get that. You know, it was interesting. That was my first band was called YJG, and that was our first gig, was the John Coltrane competition. You know, I got to meet Robbie Coltrane and Alice Coltrane, and it was big and loud. That's actually where I met Flying Lotus. I guess it was a really big one. Most of my songs start off as just a little small idea. I then will, a lot of times, write that little idea out. And it's usually not on like a piece of music paper, it's usually on like a regular piece of paper or a Post-it note, or like, you know, in my notes on my phone. And it's like an idea a lot of times. Like, it could be a rhythm, it could be a chord, or like a set of chords, or a melody or a bass line. Then kind of develop it. And at a certain point it'll start to feel like a song. And that's when I usually kind of start to write it out. When it really feels complete is when I'll usually try to like bring it to musicians and play it. It was one of the songs on the Epic that lived on a Post-it note for years in my studio. And finally one day I picked it up. I hadn't looked at it for a long time, and I was able to finish it. And I was like, oh wow, this is a really cool song. It's been living dangerously for quite a while. Once I feel like I finished the song, I'm pretty good about leaving it alone. Like I said, sometimes it takes a while, and like, you know, there's a song on Heaven and Earth called Journey that I had for a long time. Something about it didn't feel right. Miles Mosley was at my house one day, and I just started playing it on the piano. And he was like, dang, what's that? That's nice. I was like, oh, it's a song I'm working on, but something about it is just not right. And he was like, oh man, you just gotta put this beat on it. And he jumped on the drums and started playing this rhythm, and it was like, well, there it is. It had been finished for years, but I just hadn't heard it with that rhythm on it, and it was like, oh wow, that happens for sure. All three of my albums were pretty different. The Epic, it's an album that I had been kind of thinking about for years before that. And we were recording not just my album, we were recording 8 other albums at the same time. So we were like in this like music sweatshop, like just recording and being creative together for a whole month. And the purpose behind that album was for me to kind of like make something that at that time would really kind of represent all aspects of who I was musically. Harmony of Difference was a situation where I had an idea and I wanted to create music that fit this idea of different things that would seem like they can't come together, that actually can come together. Everyone in the band was like, this is not gonna work. I can't play all these songs at the same time. It's gonna sound like madness. And when it worked, everyone was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And then Heaven and Earth was different in that you know, we were on the road at that point. I had all these songs that I had been imagining these guys play. I didn't know what was going to happen, but it was pretty magical. I mean, it's something I wanted to do for a long time. It's been my favorite movie since I was a kid. One of my favorite movies since I was a kid. We used to play this place called the Piano Bar, and we used to do it. We used to play it there. And so it was one of those songs that I just had like kind of waiting in the wings, and when we went back in the studio for Heaven and Earth, I was like, yeah, we got to do this one. I mean, it's probably obvious, but I mean, if I can pick anyone living or dead, I have to pick John Coltrane. Like, can't turn that down. So yeah, it had to be that. Probably when I was about 18, I would have told myself to make an album. I wouldn't have waited so long, and to get out in the world and, you know, kind of just believe in what you have a little bit more maybe than. I mean, I believed in it, but it took me a long time to kind of get out there and really push myself. My journey was a good one, and I learned a lot doing the other things that I did. So maybe I wouldn't tell myself anything. I just let it be what it was, you know. But if I was gonna tell myself anything, it would be that. Real musicians, people who are really like makers of music, it's a lifelong journey, and it's something that you never really master. It's always moving, it's always changing, just like your body and yourself. You know, who you are is always changing. The joy is watering the tree, not bearing the fruit. So that's the most beautiful thing you can do, is actually to make the music. That's the most fulfilling thing you're going to get out of this. Actually enjoy it, because if you're a musician, you're going to be doing it for all your whole life. You're going to be learning it for your whole life.